Hi everyone, I said I would record a video for you today on what now after 12.07%, and here it is. We've had rain, we've had all sorts going on today. It was end of the world sky. It's now quite bright, so it's perfect for filming. So thank you to all of those who sent sunshine this way. We've definitely received it. Hope you don't mind the backdrop. I mean, it's not as if I'm ashamed of my walls here, but we do have quite low lighting, and I didn't really want to turn the lighting off. It's not that bright, but we do have quite low lighting, and it'd be a bit distracting behind me. So why not be properly distracted by this this fake back shot instead? So what have we got for you this afternoon? So I just wanted to give you a bit of practical advice on your options now that we can't use 12.07%. And many of you will have been using this method to calculate holiday entitlement. And as you know, back in July, I think it was around about the 18th of July, the decision of Brazil versus Harper Trust came out from the Supreme Court, and the decision went against everything we thought was going to happen. And they decided that regardless of how many years you work, weeks in the year you work, whether it's 3 weeks or 51 weeks or something in between, you should get 5.6 weeks holiday. Crazy decision in my mind, and until we get a revision to the working time regulations, this is the way it's going to be. So we need to now work with the fact we're no longer able to use 12.07%, and there are a few things that you can be doing. So I put together some slides and I thought we'd go through them today. So learning objectives for this little class that I've put together for you. So by the end of this lesson this afternoon, you will be able to 1, understand that you can no longer use 12.07% to calculate your holiday for your 0 hours employees. 2nd, understand what you must pay going forward and the implications of this. And thirdly, understand what you can do to reduce the risk of overpaying holiday in the future. And I say reduce the risk. Some strategies will not reduce the holiday pay you pay. Okay, so it's about reducing the risk of it. If you can do things that will reduce the risk of it, that's where you need to be thinking. So what was the situation previously? Well, take your common situation. One of you may well have this happen in your situation. So I'm talking to, you've got a 0 hours employee and they work on a fairly ad hoc basis. So we'll call this person Bill for the purposes of today. Let's say, it's about to do August payroll and Bill has worked 9 hours for you in August. And what you've previously done, and Bill's been happy with it, is that you've paid him the holiday pay for those 9 hours at the end of August. Okay, so what you'll have done in August is you'll have paid the 9 hours times the minimum wage. So say he was on £9.50, that was his wage. That's going to be his wage section he gets for August. And then on top of that, you'd have calculated 12.07% of hours worked. So if you've times 9 hours by 0.1207, yeah, that's what it is as a percentage when you multiply it. That would have given you a figure of around about £10 or something in holiday pay that you will have owed Bill. And you'd have added it together, popped it into his pay, he'd have been happy bunny. Yeah, that's how it worked before we had July's decision. Happy Bill? Bill's happy with that. He's got his salary or his wages, he's got his holiday pay, he's got them, at the end of the month, he's got them for the 9 hours he's worked. He recognises he might not do 9 hours for you in September. He may do no hours at all and therefore not be eligible to receive any wages or holiday pay in September. He was happy. Now, what you're going to need to do is wait till he wants to take a week's leave in order to pay him his holiday pay. Because the rules are saying that we pay holiday at 5.6 weeks in the holiday year. And that means you cannot be giving him a little bit each month. You are going to want to wait until he wants to take a week's leave, which is what the regulations think happened, because remember, they don't understand this concept of Bill. Wait until a week's holiday wants to be taken, and then in order to calculate what you owe Bill, you will go back and find 52 weeks when Bill has had wages from you. Yeah, which may mean going back 104 weeks to find those 52 weeks. You will find those weeks when he's had wages from you. You will calculate the average week's pay, and that is what you will pay him for a week's holiday when he takes it. And that, in all good chances, is going to mean you're going to pay more than you would have done with the old system. So the reality is you're more likely to pay more holiday than with the previous calculation. which, isn't good for you as a business owner, and isn't good for Bill, because you now be less reluctant to use the bills of this world. You may well be more inclined to think, well, hang on, Bill, I'd rather take you on to do X number of hours a week. Would you please work for me X number of hours a year, and I'll pay you a 12th of those hours each month as an annualized hours contract. Would you come and join me as a part-time employee, and you'll do me 2 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. So I pay you 5.6 weeks based on those 2 hours. You may well be, losing the bills of this world from your business because of this strategy that's now been imposed upon us. It's definitely more complicated to administer. Anything where you can just take the number of hours he's worked in August and times it by 0.1207 has got to be easier than going back through up to 104 weeks of wages to find 52 weeks that Bill's done work and work out an average week's pay. That can't be easy. The cost of that isn't inconsiderable. And if you're not a fan of that sort of process, your costs only get greater. If you were to outsource that and say to your payroll team or your payroll bureau or your accountant, can someone within your organisation please do this for me? Can you imagine what the bill's going to be for that? It's not going to be inconsiderable, is it? They're going to charge you for that effort, the time and the effort to do it. And the chances are, and the way we see things is, the more something is complicated, the more potential for errors exist. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why if you ever ask us for a contract and you're saying to us, oh, it's standard holiday pay in this one, Imogen, it's 28 days, we will invariably write 5.6 weeks in that contract. And the reason why is because if you then put that person on a 3-day week, if they then stop doing 5 days and end up doing 4 long days, it's still 5.6 weeks. We don't want to run the risk. And therefore, by complicating things, you run a risk that you're going to make a mistake and you're going to say, oh, you still get 28 days, even though you only do 4-day week, because you don't. So we'd want to make sure you avoid things that are going to be complicated. That's not something we're attracted to in Red Wing Solutions, and I'm sure you're not in your setting either. So it is more complicated to administer, and something that's more complicated is more costly. Yeah, and that's one of our issues with it. Bill doesn't get it when he wants it. So Bill's not happy. I know we're talking about holiday here, but, Bill was quite happy receiving his, £10.32 in holiday pay if he's on the national minimum wage. He was quite happy with that. He got his hours and then he got his ickle bit of holiday. And the fact that he doesn't work for you, he's a 0-hour person, week in, week out, he may well be in Bournemouth next week. You don't care. He's got his little bit of holiday. He's had his little bit of holiday pay for the hours that he worked for you in August. So he was happy. Now, Bill's not going to be happy because he's not going to get his money that way. He's going to get his money when he wants to take a week's leave. So he's going to be, storing it up. Yeah? Storing it up in order to be paid it. It's an issue. So what are you going to end up doing? Well, you're going to end up consulting Bill about his terms and conditions. Now, we know, don't we, from our world of HR, contract is a contract. You've agreed X with Y. You can't unilaterally stop doing something or start doing something without running the risk that they're going to object. So you've got to sit down and talk to him. So there's a cost to that. There's a cost to changing his terms and conditions, to making sure that, what you're putting in front of him going forward, you can live with. Yeah. So there's a cost of that. You're going to have to consider, hiring Bill on new bills, should we say new 0 hours people on different agreements. There's the casual agreement that you'll hear me talk a lot about, which is this idea where there is no mutuality of obligation. You're not obliged to give them any hours. They're not obliged to accept the hours that you give them. But if they start work for you, they're your employee just for that spell of employment. Yeah, just for that little spell that they're there with you. So they could start with you on a Monday and they could finish with you on a Wednesday because they've just covered 3 days for you. And employment was purely for that spell. And that will be useful in some circumstances, but not all. If you've got to go through safer recruitment every time somebody does 3 days for you, that's not going to be not without cost, is it? Checking to make sure that they haven't had employment since the last time they were with you. Checking that the references wouldn't have changed and there wouldn't have been another employer in there that you also need to approach as part of safe recruitment. Checking to make sure their update service has been maintained and that you can still see an enhanced DBS for that person. That's all with cost, isn't it? That's one of your options though, taking people like Bill on casual agreements. So it may well be finishing the bill of this example and saying to Bill, we've got no more work for you, so the employment's going to end. But if we want to work with you again, perhaps next August, we've got 9 hours for you. We'll be in touch with you next July, and we may well be offering you, Bill, a casual contract. So, those of you that have, youngsters and people that are in and around your settings that perhaps come and help out when they're on holiday, that will be something you will want to consider. Is the casual agreement the way forward? But the other alternative to the casual, and again, you'll hear us talking a lot about this, is the fixed term 0 hours contract. Now, why is that different, you say to me? Well, because the problem we have with our 0 hours employees is because they are permanent employment. I know they might have no guaranteed of any hours, but they did have an obligation to come and do the hours offered. And they did have, employment that started on X date until it didn't. Yeah, so that was permanent employment. That's one of the problems we have, is that because that's how we've employed our 0 hours people, and everyone's in the same boat. So the idea of the fixed term 0 hours, we feel, is the solution to this. So say you want to take somebody just to cover the school summer holidays, so 6 weeks in the school summer holidays. The answer would be to take them on with a start date and an end date, 6 weeks. At the end of the 6 weeks, tell them that you will then pay them the holiday that they have accrued in the 6 weeks they've worked for you. And the way I would do that is I would get 6 divided by 52, and whatever that comes out with, and I probably could tell you actually, if you're interested, so bear with, as they say. That's a really small number, yeah? So 6 divided by 52, I worked it out earlier, Blue Peter style, 0.64 of a week would be their holiday entitlement. And you would then times that to calculate their holiday pay, and that would be added on to their final pay packet from yourself as the holiday they've accrued during that period of fixed term employment. That would be one option. But of course, fixed term contracts are not the same as permanent contracts. You need a special contract for that purpose. Casual agreements are not contracts of employment at all. They are worker agreements. And again, you would need a separate worker agreement for casuals. But those are an option. Those are an option to avoid this situation of having to go back and look at 104 weeks of Bill's records to find the 52 weeks Bill received wages from yourself. Yeah, that's the option. So what you can do is you can obviously get some help. We're here to help you. We specialise in HR for early years and childcare. That's what we do. We speak to day nurseries, preschools and clubs day in, day out. You can reach us on this number, or you can reach us on this email address that's on the screen, and we'll be able to advise you as to how we can best provide you with the assistance you're looking for. Stay positive in the sense of, we've got to, keep going. We can't stop. We've got to keep going. But do bear in mind, we're all in this together. So everybody is finding it difficult. So, I'm sure you can support each other and to offer support to each other. And maybe if somebody doesn't know about ourselves, then you tell them where to come, because we'll be here to help them and to offer them the assistance they need. I hope you find this video useful. Please give us a thumbs up in the comments, or, give us some love in the comments, because it always makes it worthwhile. And as I say, thank you for sending me the sunshine. It's much better here than it was at 9 o'clock this morning. I hope you're having a fab day. Speak to you soon. Bye.